My name's John Whittenway. We're at Pindari Plains at Arthurville in New South Wales. We bought the place 8 years ago. The property was very run down when we first bought it. There was virtually no feed on the place. There was no care given to the place. Initially we wanted to buy it and breed our own lambs to sell at market. But the way that property was at the time, with the amount of pine trees that are on the place and the laws that were in place at the time, it was impossible to actually do that. Our end goal for this place here is to be able to subdivide paddocks into a lot smaller paddocks and do a weekly rotation with 2 lots of 200 ewes so that we can make this an actual working farm. To turn this place around, we really have to remove a lot of the pine that's on the place. It's not only stopping the native grasses from growing, but it's also taking up any moisture that anything else can get hold of, especially the white box gum that we have here. And it does create soil erosion by stopping anything from growing underneath it. You can see here that there's just nothing growing here because the pine trees are stopping anything from actually growing.
Yep. John and Sue's properties are located in traditional white box grassy woodland country, which is considered a threatened ecological community. Unfortunately, at the moment it's pine dominated, so it's probably lost its original function. So hopefully by treating the invasive native species, the pine, we can return it to a more natural state.
We got in touch with the local land services 2 years ago. Spoke to a fellow called Matt Lane. Matt came out about 4 times and we actually went over everything together. We looked at the pines we had here, the areas we had, and then we were able to sit down together and actually put a plan together as to what we could do and could not do.
They've used a low impact invasive native species code. So it's all about treating the pine in a low disturbance method and retaining as much ground cover as possible and promoting native pastures as a result. You'd hope to see the first thing, a short-term or a medium-term response, would be the return of a ground cover layer, and over time with good grazing management we'll see an increase in the species diversity.
We are farmers, we are also eco-friendly. The wildlife that's on the place is important to us to try and keep a natural balance, I guess, with what goes on. The native grasses will bounce back. When the native grasses bounce back, it's going to be feed for birds, it's going to be feed for lizards and all the other things that actually need to be around here. Yeah. The white box gums will be able to get bigger and stronger, and hopefully it'll shoot up some more white box gums to continue the growth from the older ones to take their place.
The new legislation will provide John and Sue an avenue or a method to begin the process on restoring this landscape back to how it should and could be. The local land services, we've looked at different avenues and different opportunities for John and Sue, and we'll hopefully be working with the Biodiversity Conservation Trust to provide as much assistance for John and Sue to enable them to achieve their goals.
There is a good strong possible return for income once all these pine trees are taken away. We hopefully will be able to subdivide it all up properly into decent paddocks and be able to run more stock. The Land Management and Invasive Native Species Act that's come in has been absolutely terrific in allowing us to try and get the property back to where it should be, back to where it was once before.